Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast, the show we bring you each and every day. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe bell notification button, and of course, drop a like on the video. We have our Thursday night show here, not our normal flavour Thursday night, I have to say. We've been doing our best to report on the football every morning and in shorts and everything else. If you're watching the channel and following it, you're not missing any football news or transfer news, that's for sure at the moment. Joining me as always on the show, my brother on the Thursday show is the Dazzler himself. How are we, Darren?
I'm all good, pal. How are you?
Good, very good. The outpouring of getting you onto a wrestling show has been quite immense. I know you missed out last week. You got caught up. You were at the live show in the Tree Arena, so having a great time.
And I have a little bit to say about that live show, actually, maybe later on.
Good. Yeah, we'll get into it, absolutely.
Yeah. But it's good to
be
back.
Pro wrestling, and if you guys think we talk a lot about football, pro wrestling for us is a very different feed, a very different main course. We can talk twice as much about pro wrestling as we do about football. But let's get into the show. We've a few things that we picked out for tonight. Nothing huge. It's an open kind of forum. If people want to drop anything in there, feel free to drop it in. Join us in the comments, of course. Acers is there. Acers talking about WrestleMania 41 he's referring to. It's the AEW effect. Has sold 70,000 tickets so far at Wembley. Now, I'm going to pause on that and I'm going to come back to it when I've gone through everyone else's comments first.
Because I have some issues with this as well.
We both have plenty to say on this.
Yeah.
Eno's in. What's the crack? How are you, Eno? Good to see you there, my friend. If WrestleMania does go to the United Kingdom, it's history in the making, a game changer for the business. Absolutely, Eno. And you will be coming with us to it. We will be going to it. Daz is up. Big up, Niall. Hope you are well today. Daz is dying to get you, Aaron, onto his fantasy football. He wants you on his fantasy football league. So he said he'll organise the pinfield stuff. That I was explaining to him, you're not the man that goes on Twitter. Because
I don't have Twitter. You're
better off. You would get too upset on Twitter, especially at the moment.
I'll tell you something, right? So I had Facebook, but even with Facebook, I was very late to come to the party. Like I came to Facebook probably 4 years after everyone else was on it, right?
Same.
And then I came to Instagram. Now I have Facebook and Instagram. I've no Twitter, and I've no TikTok. Because I can waste time by lifting up a stone. I don't need anything like that in my life that's going to make anything any more difficult than it already is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. TikTok you would enjoy. Twitter you would stay clear of. You would lose your mind on Twitter. Big shout out to Jack Kilby from Great North Wrestling Canada. I'll deal with President Andrews. I got your back, fella. Very good. And Daz is back in. How was it last week, Dazzler? How was the live show? So we'll lead in. We'll let you talk about the live show now in a minute. Let's quickly go back to Acer's comment. 70,000 tickets sold. Darren, you share your thoughts first, and then I'll share whatever's on your thoughts and my little add-ons from what I know. And if we don't know the same thing, go ahead.
Yeah, so like the first
pull that trigger.
The first thing is obviously the prices, you know. Like if you're getting a ticket to AEW, the likelihood is you could have bought 10 of them for a ticket at Money in the Bank. You know, the AEW prices are rock bottom based on the fact there's such a big number. WWE went last week to Money in the Bank, and I saw some of the reports out today that they pulled in 5.4 million in revenue. I would almost bet hands down that AEW won't manage to pick up 5.4 million after the Wembley show the way WWE were with a 19,000 seater arena. Yeah, so that's where I'll go with this.
That's one thing.
I'll add to this. This is, you know, plus don't forget, we already know, and this was something that irked us a little bit. We were in Cardiff last year at Clash of the Castle and there was 55,000 people there, right? And what irked us really this year was the fact that they dropped down to a 19-seater arena rather than a stadium. Yeah. Because we know off the back of last year's show, with Money in the Bank, they could have easily sold out 70,000. Easily, right? Easily. And the thing I would feel about them is they've gone Clash of the Castle and the Principality, they sold 55,000. They went back Money in the Bank, had, you know, the pay-per-view was just off the hook for me. It was immense. Smashed that, And then now what we're talking about is the possibility of a 2-night WrestleMania in the UK for 25 for WrestleMania 41. So WWE are testing the waters here, and they're checking at all the various levels as to, is there markets for this? Now, we know, obviously, with the UK, you've got the whole of Europe on its doorstep for a WrestleMania. Plus, you have the likelihood of a lot of fans drifting across from that East Coast, certainly, to rock up to London for WrestleMania for 2 nights. WWE know what they're doing. They're making huge money out of these events. I don't necessarily think AEW will make the kind of money that WWE did. And if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. Isn't that what we say, Noel?
Absolutely. The other thing I would add to that as well is, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Fulham fans have been receiving complimentary tickets with their season ticket renewals.
Okay.
Just to let you know.
Now,
and I'd also like to add to that as well.
You talking 10,000 season ticket holders?
I don't know how many they'd have season ticket holders. What does it hold? It holds about, what, 24, 25?
Yeah, about 25. You know, they're adapting the size of the stadium at the minute, so it would depend, but I'd say there's probably certainly 8 to 10. Might be something we can look at.
Yeah, I would have thought so. But not only that, we've also spoken on looking at Ticketmaster. We've spoken about what's going on Ticketmaster at the moment, where a lot of tickets were bought very early, very quick. And then a lot of tickets went back out on resale on Ticketmaster at lesser value.
Yeah.
So some of the tickets that were like £55 and £60 are now reselling on Ticketmaster now for £35, which seems a little bit kind of strange. Now, it could be a case that the people who made the money off Money in the Bank thought that AEW was going to carry the same kind of kickback and the same kind of flavor, and obviously it didn't. So it could be a lot of these guys who bought those tickets are now unloading them, realizing that they're not going to rally up what they did at Money in the Bank. The other thing that you'll notice as well, if you notice the way the tickets are done at the moment, if you look at the plan of tickets that are sold and stuff like that, there's a lot of tickets at the moment where there's a row fully sold, there's a row fully empty. There's a row fully sold, there's a row fully empty.
Yeah.
Which does not happen when you're selling tickets. Just simply does. You don't get that distinct pattern.
Well, something that I'll touch on from last week from the house show, and I suppose anyone that's in the comments that was at the house show will know this, but if you weren't at the house show, you won't. Last week was probably the busiest WWE house show I've seen in a long time. There was a couple of rows closed off at the back where they brought the curtain forward. You know, they have the ability to move the curtain, and they would black out, say, maybe the back 5 rows. Anything in front of that curtain was biscuit tin full, just absolutely rammed. Every single row was jammed. They had 3 merch stands on the night, and one of them was upstairs and 2 of them were downstairs. 2 of the merch stands had to close because they'd nothing left, which meant everyone got pushed towards the 3rd merch stand. And in the end, that one closed because everything was sold out again, which I've never seen before at a WWE event in the 3 Arena. So, I'm on here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Was that me or you?
I don't know what happened there.
I have
no idea.
The Wi-Fi and everything, so I don't know what happened there. Just what I was saying was, and I don't know which part of it you got, was that the back 5 rows seemed to have the curtain brought forward, you know. So it's about 5 from the back that they curtained off. Everything in front of that was biscuit tin full. Everyone was shoulder to shoulder. Every row was sold out. There was 3 merch stands. There was 1 upstairs and 2 downstairs. 2 of them closed because they'd nothing left, which pushed everyone towards 1 merch stand. And what happened in the end was everything at that got sold out. Now, the guy who was there from the 3 Arena themselves, he turned around. He was talking to people in the queue because they were working the queue. They had guardrails to queue. You know, traditionally we would queue one on top of each other. They didn't. They had it sectioned off, so you went round and you snaked from side to side on your way to the top. And he said, I got to be honest, he said, I've never seen stands run out of merch. He says, and this is the 3rd one that's about to finish because there's not a sausage left. I sent you videos. Like, it was absolutely jammed. There was a huge appetite for WWE last Thursday in the 3 Arena. And there was a huge appetite for merch as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you sent me the pictures, all right. It was absolutely crazy, wasn't it? Hang on now, my Wi-Fi is not happy at the moment.
It is yours though, is it?
I don't know. I'm not too sure, but it just seems to be acting up, as they say. Hang on 1 second now. I just want to fix something here.
Don't think it's mine. Mine seems to be all up to date and hunky dory.
Yeah, no, I was on a show earlier and it was working fine, so I don't know.
You look a lot better there. Things are starting to move the way they should. That makes sense.
Looking skinnier, am I? Yeah, so just before, like, I suppose, folks, just before we get into the sort of meat of the show and stuff like that, I suppose we have to talk about this man who sadly passed away, Darren Drozdov, aka Droz, passed away there the other day. I did do a little short on it and spoke about it on a couple of shows and stuff like that. You'll remember him, of course, if you're a fan of Beyond the Mat, and you remember him puking for Vince McMahon in a bin and all sorts of stuff, and sadly got badly injured during a match with D'Lo Brown. Ended up getting paralysed and passed away the other day at the age of 54, no age at all. Had a great look and had a great sort of career ahead of him prior to that accident and stuff like that. So we just said tonight, before we start the show, we'd remember Draws, of course. Sad times when we lose
one half of the Legion of Doom at one stage. Do you remember?
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the Road Warriors, very good. It's funny, isn't it? At 54 years of age, no age at all. Really, no age at all.
Daz is in. I believe it's going to be on ITV. The All In All. Yeah, I'd imagine so. No, they're probably going to. It's probably going to be on Fight TV, isn't there, or something like that? Or
it's got to be on with subscription or with some sort of a pay-per-view option. I would imagine.
I'd imagine so. Yeah, I've only just realised that our friend Morris kind of looks a little bit like Scotty Too Hottie. I don't know whether he has the hair to pull up through. Does he have the hair to pull up through the hat though? I'm not too sure.
He has the little.
Who did Mysterio face Dazzler? Who did Ray face on the show?
Ray wasn't there.
He wasn't on it, yeah. He was billed to be on it, but he wasn't on it. Sure, he wasn't.
I think Ray was actually in the UK because I did see a guy on one of the Facebook pages met him. Now I'm gonna say it was Cardiff, so I think he was on the Cardiff show. Let me just try and trawl back through my memory. The first match of the night was Sheamus versus Karrion Kross, which was really clever idea for me. You know, start off with a hometown favourite, get that crowd whipped up into a bit of a frenzy. Sheamus beat Karrion Kross and then proceeded to go on the microphone and spoke about a few things, and you know, had a little bit of a rib at Ryan Tubridy and stuff, you know, which was very good. And then Scarlett got his face a little bit, and he said, "Well, you know, seeing you're here, Scarlett, why don't I introduce you to one of the newest Irish talents? It's the girl Lyra from NXT." So Lyra came out and she wrestled Scarlett in an impromptu match, and she beat Scarlett. And Sheamus kind of gave her the rub and got her up in the turnbuckles and gave her the wave and stuff, which was great for the girl. You know what I mean? Huge to do that in your own backyard and to get the fans behind you. And Irish fans now, when we look at NXT, the first things we look at is Lyra on TV? Is she there? You know, it was clever. That was that was preceded by the Brawling Brutes. Sheamus was kind of heading down, and the two lads came out. Now let me think. Who did the Brawling Brutes wrestle? It's a good question here. My mind is going a little bit blank. Give me a tag team. The main event was the Usos, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, Pretty Deadly, and Gallows and Anderson in a fatal 4-way, which was awesome. So it was none of the guys. I'm trying to think who it was. No, my head's gone.
Doesn't matter anyway. What was up next?
So the match after that for me was huge. We had Charlotte versus Bayley versus Bianca Belair. That was awesome. That was really, really awesome. We had another triple threat, which was AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Austin Theory. Again, more awesomeness. Really, really good. We had Solo Sikoa versus Santos Escobar, and we also had then the main event, which was the fatal 4-way to tag team. I'm trying to think who the Brawling Brutes wrestled now. No, not.
It wasn't the Street Profits, because the Street Profits were billed, but they weren't there. Sure, they weren't.
It wasn't the Street Profits. I'm trying to think. I probably have the video, if the truth be known, of who they wrestled. Let me have a little bit of a scroll here and see if I can come up with something. Because I've stuff from last week, my videos and stuff. There we go. Who have we got here now? That was Thursday. Charlotte Flair, Bianca Bayley, Brawling Brutes. No. Charlotte, Bayley, Bianca. No. Phenomenal AJ.
It was Hit Row. It was Hit Row.
It was Hit Row.
Barry.
That's exactly.
It was Hit Row. Barry just said it there in the comments.
Top Dollar and the other lad, very good. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, because Baz was at the show as well. Big up, Baz.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly how it was, Baz. My mind had gone blank there.
Yeah. You're getting confused there, It's not Ryan Dunn, it's Pete Dunne. Ryan Dunn is your man off Jackass, isn't he?
Yeah, Pete Dunne, or Butch as he was.
Pete Dunne.
Butch had a good showing at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't do himself any harm. I thought, there's a lot of people, especially guys that didn't win matches, left themselves in a better shape than when they got in the ring, which was.
Do you know the only thing about it is, I'm not sure whether the classic wrestling gear matches the character.
I understand. Like, he should be probably in a pair of denim shorts and a pair of Timberlands or something, and a little check shirt, something like that. You thinking?
Yeah, or something. Like a kind of a Pinky Blinders and a pair of trousers with a set of braces and a vest.
Also, almost like what Sheamus has, but just to come out and wrestle with the braces and the trousers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, because he's coming down as this Brawling Brute, and then he's in classic singlet, nearly Kurt Angle look.
And the Money in the Bank ones were particularly nice. They were red, white, and blue. Obviously, the Union Jack colours, but they looked awesome. I thought.
Yeah,
you're 100% right, man. You've hit the nail on the head there.
I think he's just a little bit detached. Acers is in again. Tony Khan will be on double duty on August 26th for Arsenal game and AEW at Wembley. That man is whatever you think about AEW and whatever you think about that man, he's an absolute workhorse, that's for sure. He's certainly matching Vinnie Mac in terms of work rate. He's juggling a lot of balls at the moment. Continue on. Give us a quick rundown on the rest of the matches, and then we get into the show.
That was pretty much it, I think. I think we'd 6 or 7 matches. We'd obviously the 2 matches to start off, then the Brawling Brutes and the triple threat. Then we come back to the triple threat, Solo and Escobar, and then the main event. So those 7 matches. The card was awesome. The staging was awesome. The lighting was awesome. It was really, really good. I haven't seen a show like that in the Tree Arena in like 10 to 15 years.
And especially 2 days before the pay-per-view.
Yeah. Listen, maybe that helped it. Because maybe people were hyped for the pay-per-view. But, people got into it, which is great. I hate going to an event and fans sitting there. And I've been to wrestling shows, especially in this country, where people have sat there and just kind of like, I'm here to bring the kids. I'm not really blah blah. Everybody was into it. Everybody was shouting. And I think also a lot of the music now really, really helps create an atmosphere, because there's so many wrestlers that are coming into the ring to like unbelievable music. You think of the Usos, you think of Kevin and Sammy, you think of Seth Rollins, you think of Cody Rhodes, you think of Roman Reigns. They're building an atmosphere with the music, and it stems from that. And people get into that. And, you've got your whoa, and then the next minute it just rolls, and then you're in the match, and people are still hyped. And I think that's still really, really clever on WWE's part, where they're making the first thing you see or hear from that wrestler is something that you can grab onto, And my kids aren't huge wrestling fans, that. Not yet. They're 6 and 8. Tallulah's a big Bianca Belair fan, but quite regularly they'll say, "Dad, will you put Cody Rhodes' song on the Alexa?" And I'll play Cody, and the kids will go around the house singing it. Now, that's unbelievable. Like that's great. That's like I'm a real American type thing. When I was 6 and 7 years of age, and I was walking around singing Hulk Hogan in my vest, walking around the house, the kids do that, and I just think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Was Roman backstage? I doubt it. I'd say he went straight to London.
Yeah, no idea. I don't think he spends very much time at a lot of shows unless he has to, unless it's pay-per-views or TV or stuff like that. I think he's starting to work up a schedule outside of WWE, which is meaning his time in the ring is going to be lessened every year,
Yeah, absolutely. He's just looking forward to seeing Carlito on SmackDown tomorrow night. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say you get a great reception as well. They've certainly been going mad for some of these comebacks. If
it's anything like the pop he got in Puerto Rico. I mean, that was again, like I look at the pay-per-view in Puerto Rico, and I'm just like, they absolutely lit the place on fire. It was awesome. And you're thinking, how are they going to follow this up? And then you get Money in the Bank, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this is like, they are just crushing it out of the ballpark at the minute. They really are.
Night of Champions, the whole thing, Night of Champions, just leveling it up all the time.
Just unbelievable. And
a matter of fact, you would say they've a huge task now with SummerSlam, because they have to keep on hitting it out of the ballpark now.
Huge. Yeah. But listen, they're building momentum constantly. And one thing I've got to say, and this is something that we spoke about over the last number of years, and I only mentioned it, for a while it was frowned upon that apparently WWE weren't creating any talent, and all they were doing was, taking indie guys into NXT, building them up and pushing them in. It's not necessarily the way it's happening now. A lot of guys that are coming through the shoot are guys that are coming through from the likes of an NXT, where they've gone through tryouts to get a spot, and then all of a sudden they end up on the roster. Like, there's some awesome wrestlers, some huge personalities, some huge talents there, and they're just creating like a really, really good vibe around the place and around wrestling in general. The way they're able to bring the likes of a Logan Paul in, a Bad Bunny, and make them very credible. We knew for a long time, when you're bringing guys like that in from outside, your credibility can hit the skids a little bit. You go back to the Pete Rose days and stuff like that, and you're going, oh no, what am I going to see here tonight? And then you see a guy like Logan Paul, or you see a guy like Bad Bunny, and you're just thinking, these guys aren't here because they need it. They're here because they want it. And they're the right kind of guys to have around the place,
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to know, did you pre-order your Mount number 7 shirt?
No, not yet. I'm not a huge fan of names and numbers on jerseys. I'll leave that to the little people in the house. But you never know. Brody was very excited now, I have to say. I said to you, I sent the picture to Man's phone yesterday, Mount at number 7, and straight back he left me a voice. I was like, Dad, did we sign Mount? I said, yeah, we signed Mount. He goes, great, can we get him in our FIFA team now? I said, we'll have a look, pal.
Very good. Right, let's get into the show that we've kind of put together somewhat. We want to talk about Money in the Bank. we've already spoke. I did the reaction show about how awesome a show it was and the way they put it together. And WWE just did a stellar job, graphics-wise, presentation, build up the whole lot. But some of the fallout from it, of course, we have to talk about. Obviously, John Cena rocking up again, getting the crowd going and stuff like that, and that kind of announcement for WrestleMania 41. Which potentially has us all very excited that could we get a WrestleMania on European shores, aka London. And what does that mean? And it's gone up as far as Parliament now. Parliament have been discussing the chances of WrestleMania 41. Looks like London and the Parliament have gotten a taste of that additional revenue, and they like the taste of it. And they seen what happened, obviously, down in Cardiff. I think Cardiff, when we looked at it and did a review of it, they made an additional 20 million of revenue into the local economy that weekend. So it's massive. So can you imagine WrestleMania in London, whatever about Clash in Cardiff?
Talking twice the amount of money for 2 nights. So, I mean, that could be worth 100 million to London. Quite easily, with hotel rooms, with taxis, you know, with food and drink and stuff like that. And listen, big cities need these hits. We look at the likes of our own economy and the way when there's big stage shows and big tours come to town, Gareth Brooks, Taylor Swift, stuff like that. This is
Marley Park every year. Marley Park every year.
Well, it was the park. It was Marley Park. Now it's Marley Park, the Phoenix Park. It's Fairview Park, Malahide Park, St. Anne's Park. Now it's Park Life, and you know they're giving an additional income to a lot of those smaller businesses around the areas and stuff, which I'm sure they're extremely grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just growing and growing and growing all the time. Let's talk about the fallout from it then. Let's talk first of all about the bloodline, which is obviously a huge part of the fallout of this with the Civil War and stuff like that. Give me your thoughts. Let me know where you see the whole bloodline storyline going now. I mean, I suppose our thinking is one of the Usos has to take the belt, doesn't it? It can't be someone outside of the bloodline. It has to be kind of internal, doesn't it, to complete that kind of storyline?
I don't know. I suppose this is one of the things I've sort of struggled with most since Money in the Bank was where do we go from here? Now, the obvious sort of storyline for me is, well, by the time we get to SummerSlam, we've got Jimmy versus Solo in a singles match. And we've got Jay versus Roman in a singles match for the title. But does that lend itself to the likes of a Damian Priest? Or does it lend itself to the likes of, you know, somebody else coming on the scene to upset the apple cart and Roman somehow hanging on? Because, I mean, you've built it that Jay is the guy who's beaten Roman. So with that in mind, when you build towards SummerSlam, if Roman's going to hang around after SummerSlam, you build it like Jay is this guy who's going to take it. And maybe they swerve us and maybe Roman holds on to it. But maybe there's something very close afterwards. You know, like I wouldn't be shocked to see, you know, somebody come out a week or so after SummerSlam and kind of say, oh, I want to challenge you for the belt and steal the belt. You know, something like that. Something with a bit of a swerve, but we still get the movement of the belt, which will kind of help dissolve that storyline. I think you can, you know, there's lots of ways you can go with this. And I think that's the good thing about it. It's nothing is set in stone regarding this. And it is very much subjective as to how people will see it going and, you know, how people will see it breaking off and stuff like that. What do you think yourself on it?
Yeah, I think ultimately, I think within the bloodline is where the belt has to be taken. I think what happens after that with Priest or a cash in or whatever it is, because I'm not sure. I wonder are they swerving us on the Priest thing, and I'm going to talk about the Judgment Day in a minute, which as well. I wonder is Priest going to continue to hang on to the case, or is there something down the line on that as well? Because I like the little sort of thing. For me, the highlight of the Balor Rollins match was really the confrontation with Priest at the end of the match, really more than anything. But we'll talk about that, and I'll get your thoughts on that in a minute. But I think that's probably the way it's going to go. And I'm not too sure after that, what's going to happen with cash-ins and stuff like that. But certainly, I think at least one of the Usos is going to take the belt. And I still think there's a twist in that Uso storyline, because I think if they're going to go singles and they're going to break them up, I think there has to be quite a swerve or a turn in there as well to dismantle them. I don't think it's going to be a case of one of them has the undisputed belt and the other one's just hanging around being like his wise man, if you like, or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think if Jay takes the belt, I think we might begin to see the breaking up of the Usos, and then we might get maybe a year-long conflict between the two boys or something like that. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I'm not too sure.
If you got a Jay winning the belt from Roman, and if you got a Jimmy who was able to beat Solo, that elevates Jimmy, where Jimmy goes, listen, brother, you took care of your business and now you're the champ, but I took care of my business, and ultimately we now have to go head-to-head to find out who's going to be head of the next table, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Something that way. Or maybe it's Solo that takes the match, and then maybe we get Solo versus Jay. Yeah. And then Jimmy maybe even decides to side with Solo, because that pushes Jay to that main face position, and that makes Jimmy that heel character, so he keeps enough heat and stuff like that. Because I would be a little bit worried that when they break him up, that they don't necessarily get enough heat singly, or you know, that kind of way.
Yeah, I think a couple of months maybe a Jimmy teasing an attack, you know, like still being the buddy, but kind of like getting ready for that kind of super kick a few times, but just not pulling the trigger, teasing it a bit and stuff like that. I think that might work on the pathway to it. Daz is in. He wants to talk about Drew. Of course, Drew made his return at Money in the Bank. Looked the absolute business. I kind of said afterwards, I kind of thought it was kind of, he had gone off on this hiatus. And he was on the bump this week, and he was asked about the hiatus. And I don't know if you've seen the bump this week. He skirted around the question. He didn't talk about the hiatus and what he was doing and why it happened and all that, which means there must have been a trickle of truth to the contract and all this kind of stuff that was going on. So it was an interesting one though still, but he didn't talk. He just talked about going away and coming back, and he's back now and he's ready to go and all this kind of thing. He didn't talk about contracts. He didn't talk about, you know, being injured. He didn't talk about any of that stuff. Just skirted right around the hiatus.
I suppose, like, the only thing I would say about that is, like, I didn't see the bump, by the way, but not yet. But we know he was getting some work done. And, like, if I come back into proceedings, let's say, do I want to necessarily say I was out getting fixed up, I was out getting patched up? Do you know what I'm saying? Probably not. Because that can then weaken my position a little bit. Maybe I'm even letting, if I'm talking kayfabe, maybe I'm letting Gunther know I've got a couple of injuries that I'm just on the way back from, and maybe I'm not exactly where I want to be and stuff like that. So I could understand why he would swerve questions like that or skirt around them, even with the injury that we know was legitimate, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk then. The one thing I wanted to talk about was the Judgment Day and the match with Rollins and Ballard. This is one I think we were both very pumped up from. The build up, 7 years in the making. You know, the vignette off Ballard, that was absolutely sensational, talking about the injury and how you laughed at me going down the ramp and all these different things and stuff like that.
I knew you were going to bring him up.
Where do you see it now in terms of that? How do you see it going and stuff like that? Very nice. So, but what do you think of the way this is going and the way it's happening and stuff like that? Because it seems when you look at the Judgment Day at the moment, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, he seems to be nearly the weaker part of the Judgment Day now, because obviously Rhea is top gravy now. Dom is arguably top 3 heels in the company. If your name isn't Roman Reigns or whoever, then Dominic is your heel in the company at the moment. He's doing a stellar job. He's literally morphing into Eddie Guerrero. I said it on the reaction show. He's literally nearly working like Eddie Guerrero. His promos are like Eddie Guerrero. His look is like Eddie Guerrero. And funny enough, if Eddie Guerrero was still around today, you would literally believe that Dom is Eddie Guerrero's son at this stage. It's mad.
Absolutely.
But what's your thinking on Balor and stuff like that, where it's at and stuff like that? Obviously, Damian Priest $1 million, did a great job at Backlash in Puerto Rico, came in, won Money in the Bank. Give me your thoughts on Balor and the Judgment Day at the moment.
Yeah, like, I suppose I'm like you. I'm kind of looking at where Balor is going to fit into this whole situation. Because as you've said, you're getting this monster. You're going to have this monster face in Damian Priest, right? Monster face. Damian Priest ain't going to be a heel. He's going to be a monster face. You've got Rhea, who is just $1 million, an absolute $1 million. And you've got Dom, who is a guy we all looked at very early on and was like, why is this guy here? What's he here for? You know, he shouldn't be here and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, he started getting the heat from Clash of the Castle last year. And he's just ridden that wave almost for a full year at this stage. And he's become an unbelievable heel character. Like, absolutely unbelievable. And, you know, as you said, the similarities between him and Eddie they're astounding, really. You would 100% think he was Eddie's kid rather than Ray's. Even how he's built. Maybe there's a question to be asked down the road. I don't know. Maybe real life will play out with these paternity tests later on in Dominic's life. But Balor does look a little bit like he's the guy on the outside here. He's certainly not being billed as a guy. He's a guy who looks amazing. Always looks amazing. WWE make him look amazing to a point. But it's like they get him to that point and they're afraid of giving him the next step up on the ladder. They seem to just devalue him a little more every time. And for me, you know, where do I see this going in the next 12 to 18 months? I'm not sure. Do we end up seeing Balor in a US title mix? Or an intercontinental mix with, you know, things like that? I don't know. Strange. Hello, it's me. Am I live? Am I not live? Who knows? If I'm live, tell me in the comments, will you? Chat with everyone. Let's see the comments. Right, too many super kicks in wrestling tonight. I agree with you. Here we go. My man is on the way back in. I'm just going through some comments here, Niall. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I got thrown out there.
That's okay. I started singing. It's grand. I think we lost a few.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just started scrolling through the comments there. I don't know if you can see them. Obviously, we got Acers. Reigns is going.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a little look through the comments there?
Yeah.
Roman's going to go into Phillips as champion. Phillips. So Phillips Stadium. Am I missing something there?
Where were we?
WrestleMania. I see it.
Just 1 second there.
Do I think Roman will make it to WrestleMania as champion? I doubt it. I know it's WrestleMania 40, and I know it would be the ideal place for him to lose the belt on the grandest stage of them all, let's say in Philly next year, but I don't know. I think that's a long way away if I look at it now. You know, you're talking the best part, what are we, July? It's going to happen in April. You're talking the best part of 8 months. Do I think Roman can last 8 months with that belt? I don't think so. Not the way things have gone you know, at Money in the Bank and stuff like that. That would be a huge stretch for me to think like that he could last another 8 months. Now, listen, maybe he gets written off for a little while. Maybe he's out. Maybe he gets injured. Maybe there's a storyline. I don't know. But it would be a stretch for me to believe that Roman is going to go into Philly. I think that's what Abrams was trying to say, as WrestleMania champion. I think that would be a huge stretch. I think the more likely thing is for us to possibly see Uso versus Uso at WrestleMania 40 for the belt. Jay possibly going in as champion and Jimmy coming in as some sort of a heel to try and take the title from Jay and stuff. That's probably where I would see it, which might free up, you know, Roman versus The Rock then or something for WrestleMania 40. If they're going to do it, WrestleMania 40, it's, you know, it's going to be the grandest stage of them all, as they say. Maybe that's the opportunity that WWE is looking for to try and get The Rock back involved and stuff like that. I don't know. It'll be strange. Jimmy cost Jay at SummerSlam, leading to to a triple threat match at Payback. Possibly, Damian Priest will be a fail cash in. I don't know about that. I think Damian Priest is a heavyweight champion in the making. I really do. I think it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Too many super kicks in wrestling. Richie, you're 100% right, Paul. I agree with you. Dominic's morphing into a gobshite. Well, I'm not so sure I'd go that far, you know. But I do think he's morphing into Eddie Guerrero. Jordan Devlin will be replacing Damian Priest after the SummerSlam match. Who knows? We may end up seeing Devlin and Balor as some sort of a tag team, which I would love, by the way. I think that would be awesome. I think that would be absolutely awesome. But we'll have to wait and see. Two kind of high-flying Irishmen, you know, that would be unbelievable. Niall, how are you?
How we doing? You back?
Oh, I haven't gone anywhere, I don't think. Thought I was keeping the place running while you were gone. Who knows? Listen. I'll keep talking, will I?
Yeah, you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I'll keep going. I don't know what's happening here. Love to see Jordan and Balor on their own, maybe in a good tag team, as I said. Eno saying, bring back Nathan Jones. Don't think we're going to see Nathan Jones for a little while. Where's Bray? I actually saw Daz Reynolds. I saw a picture of Bray last week. Somebody bumped into him in a gym, and he looked unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Best I've seen him look for a while. He looked like a really happy guy. He had a smile on his face. He looked in really good physical shape. And I can probably see Bray returning before SummerSlam, if I'm honest. If not before, certainly SummerSlam is the door opening for Bray Wyatt. That's, you know, Fergal David badly needs his best friend Paul Tracy in the Judgment Day. Hopefully not. That could be a bit of a stretch. And Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes 2. Possibly. I think Cody Rhodes has an awful lot behind him at the minute. I think Cody is really building something special. I think when he gets his hands on that title, it is going to be epic. I really, really do. For all of us, I think when Cody gets his hands on that belt, it will be just a moment to go down in history, a moment for the ages. Is it going to be Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania moment? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I'm not sure, but I'm 100%. I'm 100% in for Cody getting the title and getting a decent run at it. I've bought into the Cody storyline massively, I have to say. Really, really have. It's been unbelievable watching him come back and obviously tearing the pec and stuff, and Hell in a Cell with Seth and stuff. Just unbelievable. I think watching him come out at Money in the Bank to the fans and to the Ferrari and stuff like that, the fans are right behind Cody Rhodes. It was a huge pop he got, and I think when he lifts that belt, it'll be a special, special moment. Another one in there, Daz Reynolds. Do you think we get Edge versus Bray at SummerSlam? Daz, that'd be unbelievable. That would be unbelievable. And could it be possibly the end of Edge? Do we see Bray coming back and maybe finishing the Edge story? I don't know. Would Edge prefer maybe to finish in Canada? Would he prefer to finish at Romania? There's lots of options there. I think Bray and Edge would be box office. I think we'll see that. I'd love to see the Brood Edge, and I'd love to see, obviously Bray at his best. I think Bray has been massively mismanaged since he's gone back to WWE. He's had his health issues and his personal issues and stuff, obviously, and then creatively they got trapped with Bray a little bit. They weren't sure what to do with him, and they kind of get him all these gimmicks and things like that. But I think this is the time for Bray to kind of step forward and really stamp his authority on things in WWE, And I would love that. I would love Bray versus Edge. Brock is back again. Let the fun begin. Yeah, absolutely, Ian. Absolutely. Back obviously on Monday night, we're going to see Brock versus Cody probably at SummerSlam, which will be huge. Because obviously there's still a little bit of meat left on that bone, and I think if we're looking at Cody as a guy who's possibly going to step forward and win a world championship and stuff like that, WWE have got to be looking to put Cody over in that third one against Brock. Whether it's by hook or by crook or whatever it is, they've got to be looking at putting Cody over if they're going to legitimately put a belt on him in the next 12 months. For my money, anyway.
Are we down? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly now.
Jesus. I don't know what's going on.
Is this the first time we've ever had technical issues and it hasn't been my end?
I don't know what end it is. I don't know what's happening because I'm downstairs. Everything looks fine downstairs. Everything looks fine here at the moment. I did 2 shows today, so I don't know what's going on. But
I've been going through the comments and everything. Check me out.
Good. How far are you down to the bottom?
The only one, we've just got a new one in there. I've just cleared up Brock is back again. That was Ian.
Yeah.
And our next one is after Cody beats Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, then the World Heavyweight Championship feud at Payback and Fastlane. 100% Acers. Because I think Cody has to go over versus Brock because of the way the role he's been on. I know Niall's not a huge Cody fan, but I am, pardon the pun, I am all in on Cody Rhodes. I am all in. When that music hits, I just become a different person. I'm like right behind Cody. They have me sucked into that story. I can't wait for him to take Brock out in the rubber match and then see him build towards a WrestleMania moment and him lifting that world title. I will be absolutely on the edge of my seat for that. I have to tell you now. That's money for me all day long. And Niall is going to come in now and crush this like Andre the Giant crushing a fucking melon. Hit me, Niall.
Remember Kamala? Remember Killer Khan with that claw and all that.
Kamala,
no, look,
Kamala
it's
and
not.
Boy Kimchi.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's not that it's not that I'm not a Cody Rhodes fan. I am a Cody Rhodes fan, but I just think
you're not though.
No, I think you're going to get eventually what you want, and I think you're going to eventually look back at it and you're going to be disappointed. I don't think it's going to deliver after the fact.
Okay, but and listen, there's a way around that. There is a way around that because his reign doesn't have to have a certain amount of longevity about it. Because let's look at some of the biggest pops you've ever seen, right? And I'm gonna. So for me, this is only me personally. Big pops I've ever had in my life, right? Watching wrestling. And we spoke about it the other night in the WhatsApp group. The Hardys return at WrestleMania. I woke my wife and kids, right? They won the belts. They lost them with a whimper weeks later. Didn't make any odds. I still remember that moment where the New Day started to take a step down the ramp as if they were going to be the next participants in that match, and that music hit. So that moment for me.
So hang on a minute. I'm going to stop.
Hang on. I've another one. Same again. I'm going to take you back to WrestleMania. I'm going to take you to the moment Zack Ryder climbed that ladder to retrieve that Intercontinental belt. That moment. Yes, Zack Ryder. Right, because obviously he's like us. He's a figure guy. He's a kid we know who's watched wrestling since, he was a little boy in short trousers. He lost it the next night to Miz. Does it take away from that moment? Absolutely not. Does it kill me that he didn't get a better run at it? Yeah, but it doesn't take away from that singular moment.
Yeah,
and I think, it's the instant gratuity that we want. Gratification, sorry. That's what we're after.
But at a time where they're rolling back wrestling and they're trying to do it in a different way, they're not necessarily giving you instant gratification. And I think because they're not doing that, because for 2 decades they've done that and it hasn't sat well with you. And now that they're not doing that, I think that's why we're more enjoying wrestling. Now, what I would say on both those examples is, one, we're talking about either the World Heavyweight belt here or the Undisputed title. We're not talking about the Intercontinental belt or coming back and winning a Money in the Bank or getting a pop because you have all the sympathy of the internet there because you got shafted and let go and became the internet champion. Let's be clear about that. The second thing I would say, and I'm going to create controversy here now, the Hardy Boys carry way more pedigree than Cody Rhodes.
Stop saying things.
Now I'm going to say that now. Go back and look. Go back and look at the Hardy Boys. Go back and look at the Hardy Boys and look at the Hardy Boys' career and compare the Hardy Boys' career to Cody Rhodes' career.
I think that's really harsh. Really harsh. I do. Like,
it's the truth.
I think when you look at, I think Cody's best stuff has been since he left WWE, the first time. When he left WWE and he had to go and build himself, so it was Cody Rhodes. And obviously the setting up of AEW and he was Cody Rhodes and he comes back and he's Cody Rhodes. That's what I'm looking at. I understand what you're saying. We can't forget about what happened previously.
So hang on, when you think about all the stuff in AEW that Cody Rhodes did, setting it up, being that guy, the all-ins, the all-outs, all this kind of stuff. How did it end? The match with Dustin, that match, the brother versus brother, the blood match and all that with Dustin and all, absolutely amazing and stuff like that. I'm not taking any of that away. But how did it all end?
Well, it ended with Cody leaving the company, because Cody wants to go bigger than AEW. I think Cody understands AEW isn't the major leagues. AEW is the minor leagues.
I don't think that was the case. I think Cody realized that the way the chess pieces were configuring in AEW, Cody Rhodes was going to find himself in a position that he didn't want to be in. And Cody Rhodes in AEW was very quickly going to find himself potentially being dashing Cody Rhodes again in AEW. This is what was evolving there. Let's be honest. He became in AEW. Look at the last few months of him in AEW. He totally became an afterthought, and it wasn't just because he was leaving.
Yeah, but also the thing you got to remember about AEW is, and we obviously know I'm not a huge AEW fan, but AEW for me at times, it's about that next reveal. It's about the newest flavor on the block. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're a star in WWE and you look at a lot of the guys over the years, you're a star for a long time. You know what I mean? There's not loads of guys like in AEW you can be a star for 20 minutes and then you're dumped very, very quickly, right? Because, CM Punk comes back or because Daniel, like outside of about 4 or 5 guys in AEW, we know the rest of them aren't legitimate at all, really. And they can't even, we can't even look at them as legitimate. Like, you've got MJF, whatever, what's his name?
MJF.
MJF?
Yeah, MJF.
Maxwell,
yeah.
Jacob Friedman, right? You got MJF.
Yeah.
You got Daniel Bryan, CM Punk. You've possibly got, now they're trying to build it as Adam Cole and, maybe Moxley or Page. Outside of that, who's legitimate in the company? Who do you look at and go?
Well, it depends on what you mean by legitimate. Do you mean like a legitimate global superstar, or do you mean legitimate as in there's a lot of very, very good wrestlers in there? Now,
yes,
if the package that they present to you and the way everything is presented doesn't hit your flavor, that's a different situation. I mean, Will Ospreay is a very, very good wrestler who's well known, well renowned, has been on WWE's radar, has created a massive career for himself both on the indie scene and New Japan and stuff like that. And I don't think we can dismiss the work that they do in New Japan. Now, having said that, you can't compare that to the likes of a Roman Reigns coming out of WrestleMania or a Brock Lesnar or a Seth Rollins. And I get that and
absolutely.
I understand that.
And
it's different. Yeah. And I know that that's different. I know that you look at Forbidden Door and people are popping because Daniel Bryan is able to use the Final Countdown music that he used back in ROH 20 years ago, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of pop to the pop you're talking about when Cody Rhodes comes out and the whole stadium is singing his song. I get that. And I want to put this on record now. I'm not against Cody Rhodes. I'm a fan of Cody Rhodes. I ultimately can see Cody Rhodes will get the belt. What I am ultimately saying here is I think once he gets that belt, I think it's either going to be very short-lived or very unflattering in the fans' eyes. I think it's very like, if you think about when Daniel Bryan got the belt and the wave to get Daniel Bryan to get the belt, and then you think about after that what happened.
Yeah, and listen, it's the very same thing as a Kofi Kingston getting the belt. We had that moment, and then we had Kofi going through the motion, so to speak.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm concerned about, because if this is an instant gratification thing or a Kofi King situation, this is being built on the back of his dad's legacy and all this other parameters. Like what we were talking about with the Balor match earlier. It was 7 years of revenge and built up story and all that kind of stuff, and it didn't deliver. Let's be honest, it didn't deliver.
Yeah, but I don't know. It didn't deliver because they went a different way with it. The swerve was in Damian Priest and the briefcase and stuff. I think, yes, and that's what I'm trying to say to you. I do understand the way you're thinking, and I do understand that there's a possibility that happens because, like I said, Daniel Bryan, Kofi Kingston, the title reigns are forgettable. The most significant thing in the Kofi reign was him losing it in 13 seconds or whatever it was to Brock in, on the season premiere of SmackDown and stuff like that. I remember that more than I remember any other match other than the night he won it. But the night he won it, I got that. Oh, wow. Kofi got the belt, man. Kofi should never have gotten a belt. But by hook or by crook, Kofi got a belt. Got a world championship. And we can never take that away from Kofi Kingston. And it shouldn't be something.
We can.
No.
Oh, we can.
When we shouldn't be able
not
to
only
take
can
that.
we, not only we can, most of the WWE universe did. That's why the change came about. Let's be clear about that.
No, the change happened because it was the season premiere of SmackDown on Fox, and WWE were told our champion by Fox producers is going to be Brock Lesnar. Same way on Raw, it was supposed to be Bobby Lashley, only we had stuff go down there.
Hence my point.
Yeah, but that's not, we still can't take away from Cody's legacy and Kofi's legacy and Kofi being a world heavyweight champion. And that moment, and a lot of people popped for that moment.
I was there. I popped for it with Dino. We were at the show.
Absolutely.
I popped for it. Absolutely. I'm not saying. But don't forget, I'm not necessarily taking that away. What I think is with Cody, I think if the storyline is the dad and the legacy and all that kind of stuff, I think it has to be. I think for me, it has to be a little bit of longevity and a bit more meaningfulness to it and stuff like that. And I know we're talking about, even Dustin came out and said he has to earn it, he has to pay his dues and all this kind of thing and stuff like that. That's fine. If you go down that path, and now he's been beaten pillar to post, remember, by lads in here since he came back. Lads have been knocking this lad up big time, right? So I think with that in mind, I think it has to be more meaningful. But I think WWE, once they deliver what they've delivered, I think they'll very much change their mind very quickly. And then I think we'll look back on it and go, he went on all this journey of Brock Lesnar beating the absolute piss out of him in every corner of this globe for that.
I don't necessarily think it'll be that short-lived. The other thing you've got to remember is, and there's certain things that drive decisions in WWE, and one of the decisions, one of the things that will drive this in WWE will be how he does it from a merchandise point of view. So this is huge for WWE. If Cody Rhodes can, as a world champion, sell T-shirts and, sell belts and sell this and sell that, that would be enough to keep him there for a little while. I think what I'd like to see when Cody got the belt was, I'd like to see him be that kind of all-American champion and come and go and all-comers, defend the belt every week on SmackDown or defend it on, I think that's the way
they should go with it. Be a working champion.
Absolutely. But like I'm a working man, like my dad was, and hold on to that, hold on to those values. And, every week, get going from pillar to post. Take the beating every week. I want to see Shawn Michaels, from 96, 98, where he's in these matches with Vader, and you think, how's he going to get out of this? All of a sudden, there's a moonsault and a sweet chin music, and maybe they need to put somebody with him, like that Jose Lothario figure that gives him a little bit of an edge against bigger guys or meaner guys. Do we end up with Dustin coming back and maybe being, Cody's, I don't know, some sort of a valet for Cody or somebody that's there in the background bloodline for Cody.
The bloodline.
Well, I'm certainly not looking for it. I'm not looking for the tribal chief. Or is it going to be a fact that, because, they've teased, obviously, as well, they've teased the Brandy thing a couple of times with Rhea Ripley. Do we get to see, Cody and Brandy versus maybe Rhea and Damian Priest or something? Or Rhea and Dominic? Or, there's lots of different... I think Cody's going to be an unbelievable champion. I really do.
What will define Cody Rhodes as champion is the night after WrestleMania 40 as champion, the crowd reactions. Well, that's not necessarily what defines you as a champion, because we know the Raw after WrestleMania is quite a mixed international audience. It's not necessarily the gauge. And it generally these days has been a terrible show with very little wrestling on it.
Last couple of years have been absolutely dreadful.
Dreadful. So I wouldn't be gauging it based on that. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people won't pop for it. I'm not saying I'm sure the roof will blow off the building when it happens and stuff like that. My concern is when I look back on that, I want it to be more for Cody than, as you said, when you look at the likes of Kofi or you look at the likes of Daniel Bryan, kind of what happened and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I want it to be meaningful. I want us in 20 years' time to talk about when Cody became world champion. That's where
I wouldn't be surprised to see him win it and then lose it, but win it back and then drop it and win it back. Where he goes on some sort of a run of just that they can build him and go 5-time world champion Cody Rhodes, 6-time, that kind of thing. Which was something that, a lot of guys traded the belt. You saw Brett and Sean trade the belt. You saw other guys trade the belt, over the years. I think that sort of thing could work in his favor, where he loses and you think he's dead and buried, and then he comes back the next time and he just gets a little more out of himself and gets over the line, and then boom, he's won it a second time, and that kind of thing. I think that could work in his favor as well. But I completely get where you're coming from, though. I do, and we've seen it happen to guys before, a la Daniel Bryan, a la Kofi Kingston, and it's not something you want for anybody, let alone for Cody, if we're Cody fans.
You see, for me, I'm kind of different to the typical wrestling fans that are out there at the moment, because I lived through when Dusty won the belt and how massive it was and how long he chased down Flair and all this kind of stuff and how hard he had to work for it. And I can see they're repeating a lot of that. And also you remember as well with Dusty as well, they kind of it wasn't as long lived probably as it should have been. So maybe they're repeating history, and that's the way the cycle goes. Let's get on to a few other bits and pieces at the moment. Austin Theory reaching a milestone as US champion, 221 days. Hasn't happened since John Moxley 10 years ago.
It's not gonna continue for much longer. He's becoming
stale.
Very stale. If I'm honest, where do we see Austin Theory going? I see him going to SummerSlam and dropping the belt to LA Knight.
And potentially probably heading back to NXT, I think. I think he's another guy who's going to have to go and find himself again.
I definitely think we need a gimmick change. I definitely think we need to create something a little more, because we're getting the pay-per-views and he's nowhere near the cards.
I think you know what it was. I think
pay-per-view and this is where
I think
the best of the best is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And this guy he's not really getting heat anymore.
Do you know what it is? I think the dizzy heights of 38 that he hit is coming back to haunt him.
Maybe.
Because he had an unbelievable WrestleMania weekend, if you remember, at 38 with McMahon and Pat McAfee and Austin and the whole lot and all, you know what I mean? So, and when you hit that kind of height, where is there left to go? Like, except go win a world championship, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I also think, like, when he was Mr. McMahon's, it was the Drew McIntyre gimmick, he was the chosen one and stuff like that. But I think now we're looking at it and I don't really know what he is. I don't know what I'm seeing. Maybe we need an Austin Theory face turn because listen, the guy is a physical specimen. People could get behind him. Kids could get behind him and be like, Austin Theory. But I just don't see it at the minute because he's not getting a reaction, be it good or be it bad, from anybody. The one thing you can absolutely say about Dominic Mysterio is when he walks in the room, everybody stands up.
Yeah, the connection is there.
That connection is there. Got to be amazing for Ray, by the way. Got to be amazing for Ray to watch your son and go, like, especially when he's a heel and it's he. It's I feel like at times, we attach ourselves to these faces and we're like, it's the good guy. The heat Dominic Mysterio is getting right now and the heat that he's garnering for himself, and that Rhea Ripley's doing a great job for him as well, by the way, it's just phenomenal. For Ray, that's gotta be just unbelievable for Ray, watching that, thinking, this is my kid. This is his infancy as a wrestler, and look what he's doing now. What does he do in 10 years? Because the road is endless for Dominic Mysterio at this stage. It really is.
And especially with Ray spending most of his career being on the road and not really being around Dominic much.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To be able to be on the road with him now and see his progression and how he's developing. And remember when he came in first, we were all saying, not too sure about this at all. Is this coming in here just on the back of the old man? Or
absolutely.
You know what I mean? But certainly standing on his own 2 feet along with Mama at the moment, isn't he?
Oh, she is just
different.
Wow.
Grade,
wow. And can I mention wow?
Yeah.
My
Triple H.
God.
A lot of anxiety in the fan base at the other day. Triple H apparently not at Raw. But apparently we learned afterwards that it was a planned day off and Bruce Pritchard took control of the show. So no need to panic. But anytime we hear Triple H missing something because of the previous situation, we think the worst.
Isn't it really funny though how the reaction is gauged and how people put the reaction out there? It can be something as simple as the CM Punk being backstage at Raw. And then all of a sudden, well, we heard that such and such. And then the train just goes, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And everybody's surmising all these things. And what about? And you're like, don't run away with yourself, lads. Something simple sometimes is something simple. It's not the big story that we want it to be. I don't doubt having come back from the tour of the UK, let's see, because there was the house show tour plus the pay-per-views, all the media stuff. There was a lot on. I'm sure he wanted to see his daughters. I'm sure he wanted to see his little girls and just spend a bit of time with them and say, we absolutely knocked it out of the ballpark. I've set it up that I know we're going to just keep things moving on Raw. I don't need to be in the building for stuff to be done. and I'll be back next week, and we'll talk about TV on Tuesday or Wednesday. Job done. Like,
and I'm sure he was only a mobile away from what was going on anyway. It's not like the mobile was turned off and he was at the pool. I mean, I'm sure he was still well tuned into what was happening.
Yeah, but you know what
was going on.
Even if he was, he set it
so
up that he knew.
So be it, yeah.
You tell me the guy can't have a day off? Come on.
Yeah,
Jesus.
absolutely. You mentioned already the effect that Money in the Bank and SmackDown had, $5.4 million and all dollars.
Yeah.
New record for Money in the Bank as well, grossing, and also for SmackDown, new record in terms of grossing and sponsorship and all. So
in a
absolutely
19,000 seater arena.
19,000. Massive.
What could they have done in 40,000?
What could they have done in 90,000?
Right. Well, we're probably going to see it. Is the good thing.
Expressions, yeah.
No.
Did you see the video of Expressions going mad when they started talking? They started doing the Tottenham chant. Oh my God, he was going crazy. They were hating on Tottenham big time. Let me talk to you about Natalya. A lot of talk this week about Natalya, about whether she still had it and all this kind of thing, and you know, her position on the roster, was it still justified? All this kind of thing. A lot of this was on the back, obviously, of the match at Night of Champions, which didn't hit what it wanted to hit. Maybe from a booking agent point of view or a match agent or whatever it is, but it just didn't seem like the chemistry was there. But they had a match this week on Raw, and very clear Natalya is still very much more than capable of going with Rhea Ripley. And she proved her doubters wrong somewhat this week on Raw and voiced it on the Busted Open radio podcast.
Yeah, like, listen, Natalya owes the WWE absolutely nothing. She's been a phenomenal worker for them for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Great girl. I met her myself. I was lucky enough to meet her. Really pleasant girl. I spoke to her about her father and stuff like that. Really, really nice girl. Was there for the fans. Wasn't being paid for it. You know, it wasn't one of these turn up and meet Natalya. So I just bumped into her, but she was a really, really nice girl. And like, she just goes through, puts those matches out time and time again when WWE need her, when they need her on a TV slot to fill a gap, when they need her somewhere. She's a great company girl. The issue with Rhea Ripley right now is, who do I book and how do I make them look plausible against Rhea Ripley? I don't really have anyone. Unless Shayna Baszler absolutely destroys Ronda Rousey, and then we get some sort of a Shayna Baszler coming after Rhea, or unless something happens and we get somebody physical like Raquel Rodriguez who can, stand up to a Rhea Ripley.
Has the stature, to look the part.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, other than the two girls, you've nothing there. You've nothing there to legitimately make me think this girl could trouble Rhea Ripley. Obviously, on the other side, you've got Becky, you've got Charlotte, you've got Bayley, you've got Asuka, you've got Io Sky now. Is that maybe a way how they're gonna get her to drop the belt? Is it gonna be a cash-in thing? Where Rhea goes and does a number on a couple of girls, and 3 or 4 girls come out and attack her and leave her in a pool of her own sweat and makeup, and then Io decides to cash in or something. Like, that's all I see. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot. She's so difficult to book on again right now.
I was looking at it there the other day, and I don't think Rhea Ripley is going to be losing the title anytime soon. And the reason I think that, I don't know if you see, WWE put out the post the other day that I think she's 90 days or whatever it is as champion, or 90 odd days as champion now. And I was thinking, once they start counting the days, that means they have a kind of a long-term plan. Because if it's anytime soon, you don't start counting the days.
No, absolutely not.
So
you don't want to put a time limit on it if it's going to be short.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So that was my thinking. I have a few little bits of history that we'll go through, and then a few notable birthdays, and
talk to me.
That'll be this week. So a couple of interesting ones, of course. 1987, the NWA, the Great American Bash, was held at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the first debut that we see of a War Games match. And of course, created by Dusty Rhodes, the match inspired by the film Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. So that was the first time
I didn't bring him in when we spoke about him. When we speak about these guys, there's a few guys lined up outside there that I could just bring in and be like, check out that bad boy. I don't generally collect AEW figures, as you know, but I dabble in them if they're ones that I really like, i.e. the rare editions, 1 of 3,000 or particular figures like that, you know.
Yeah, so then we go back 1985
and War Games was something I was at November, by the way, don't forget.
Yeah, fantastic.
War Games I was only showing somebody the pictures of that yesterday, and they were like, why is there 2 rings? And I was like, oh, it's a War Games match. And they were like, what's a War Games match? Not a wrestling fan. And I was like, oh, well, you know, War Games is something bloody blah. And I went into it, you know, and they were like, oh, wow, that sounds cool. And I started showing videos from the live, and they were like, wow, that's awesome. They should do that every week. And I was like,
I'm just imagining the end of that conversation was then, just give me a bit more wrist than that forearm, will you? That forehand. Give me a bit more wrist.
No.
This wasn't on court, no?
This wasn't on court. You know where this went down? This went down. Can I turn that around? This went down in, let me see if we can turn this around. Can you see that bag?
Yeah. Oh, McGurk's.
This went down at the till in McGurk's Golf.
Jesus.
Where Alan, who sells me my gear in McGurk's, was talking to me about something, and I was like, oh, I'm a huge wrestling fan. He was like, what? I was like, yeah. I'll go to the house show. I was there last week. Like the pay-per-views, the whole thing. And he was like, wow.
Daz, have you got the AEW game yet, Dazzler? I'm not a gamer, so.
No, I'm not a gamer either, man. Look, I play a bit of FIFA with the little lad, but I don't really have the time for it, man. But I've heard a few good things about it now, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So 1985 in Charlotte, North Carolina, the NWA presented the first ever Great American Bash event. Magnum TA defeated Kamala by disqualification to retain the US title.
Awesome.
Ric Flair defeated Nikita Koloff to retain the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. And Dusty Rhodes defeated Tully Blanchard in a steel cage match to win the World TV title. I remember it well because I watched.
Just think of those 6 wrestlers, like 6 absolutely legends of this game. Unbelievable. And the Great American Bash, one of my absolute favorites. Favorites. Great American Bash / Bash at the Beach. They were always really, really big. And again, everybody knows I'm a big WWE guy, but that was possibly one of the only pay-per-views that I would watch WCW to see. That Bash at the Beach and stuff like that. They were the big ones that would go, oh, you just grab your attention enough, you know what I mean?
Starrcade, Clash of Champions, all those kind of ones.
Just those big ones, you know.
Absolutely. 1985, you have the first ever WWF King of the Ring took place in the Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, in front of 23,000 fans. And Don Morocco defeated the Iron Sheik in the final of the tournament to be crowned the King of the Ring. There you go. That was this week as well. 2013. Go on, yeah.
You've segued me again.
We've something else there now, have we? We've the Iron Sheik. There we go.
The King of Hearts.
Owen Hart. There you go, yeah.
What was the chances you lined me up for that one, Niall?
I know, yeah. I'm telling you, it's all good.
I've 4 figures here. I've shown 3 of them. Can you team me up for the last one?
I'll do my way. Well, this one might help you. I'm not too sure. You definitely.
Let's go.
I'm going down through it. 2013. A certain family made their main roster debut by attacking Kane on Raw. The Wyatt family. Have I teed you up? There you go. I'm good, aren't I? I am good.
Niall, have you teed me up or what? Look at that.
Great figure. Rest in peace.
Brody Lee. What an absolute hero. And something I know, I'm not a huge AEW fan. Funny enough, Darren, you've just shown me 3 AEW figures. I know. But the one, I'd literally buy a figure if it was attached to the wall at this stage. But, but one thing I will say, just the way AEW have obviously rode in behind Brody Lee's family and stuff like that since his death, and the way a lot of these guys, they still go back and they talk to the son and they look after the son, and
Yeah.
You know, I just think that's to be admired beyond belief, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
As wrestling fans, we lost a guy in the ring, but you can't forget that little boy lost his father, and
Yeah.
you know you know what that feels like as a son who's lost a father. I know what that feels like. I don't know what it feels like at that kid's age to have that figure taken from me, but I just think the way a lot of those guys have rallied around him, and I see stuff all the time where Cody visits the kid or he's at taping the TV shows.
You seen Cody at Mania, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, with the kid
And
there
you're
and
just
stuff. Yeah.
this is what wrestling's about. This is absolutely the stuff that's important, and the family element to it. Because, again, when I started watching wrestling initially, it was stuff that a lot of people watched on a Saturday afternoon. World of Sport on a Saturday afternoon. You watched it maybe with your granny and stuff like that, sitting in her house or whatever. That type of thing. And your granny would be like, "Oh, the giant haystacks and blah blah," and you'd be like, "Oh, Jesus," and but really cool. I love the way they've rallied around that lad.
Yeah, absolutely. 1985, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, of course, won their first NWA World Tag Team Championships with a win over Ivan Koloff and Khrushchev in Shelby, North Carolina. That's going back 1985. I was a big fan of the Rock and Roll Express. And 2017, one that we probably want to forget, WWE's Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view. Remember this one?
Yeah.
Those were tough times, and that was only 6 years ago. It took place at the American Airlines Arena in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah,
in the main event, Brock Lesnar defeated Samoa Joe to defend the WWE Universal Championship. Shocking pay-per-view. Shocking.
What does it stink of? Say the name. Vince.
Yeah.
It stinks of Vince. It stinks of brand panties. It stinks of, that cheap gimmicky shite. Like, it stinks of that. And I suppose the good thing about having a rival is, when you've got the monopoly on things, stuff doesn't have to be amazing because you have the viewership, you have this and you have that. But when you have a competitor, they can make you up your game, and that's something we should be thankful for with AEW, because they got WWE to significantly up their game.
When did Sting make his first match? That's a good question, Daz. I don't know when he made his first match. I think they must have broken in. They broke on down in the territories, didn't they? And originally, I think they went into Texas first or down south somewhere. When he broke in with Warrior as his tag partner. That would have been very early. My earliest memories of Sting was the blonde Sting, the surfer in NWA, when he broke in and went on that tear to attack the Horsemen and stuff like that to ultimately end up with the World Championship off Ric Flair and stuff like that. So that would have been my earliest times of Sting. Absolutely sensational. What I would say about Sting is, please stop jumping off ladders and please stop nearly trying to kill yourself in AEW. It's not worth it. It's definitely not worth it. I don't know if you've seen the match the other day where he chinned himself off his knee and off the announcer's desk.
Yeah,
it's really, really scary. And hats off to Darby Allin as well. Darby Allin came out and he said that he was happy to do all that kind of stuff, but Sting actually asked and wanted to do it. But listen, both boys, neither of you need to be doing that.
Listen, here's the thing. And there is an issue here. Because obviously Sting spent a significant amount of time out of the ring with through injury and stuff like that. So is it where Sting is trying to prove that he can still go? Is it Sting trying to prove? Because I've heard this quite a bit, that every time something happens, it's like, yeah, but Sting wanted to do it. I get that and I completely understand it. But somebody's also got to say, no, you don't need to do that.
But that level of person compared to Sting probably doesn't exist in AEW. Who's going to tell him that?
Tony Khan.
Tony Khan doesn't carry that weight.
Oh, listen, Tony Khan puts the rubber stamp on anything that happens in AEW.
I don't think that's the case at all.
Oh, absolutely.
You think so?
No way. Yeah, of course.
Not a chance. If anyone's putting the rubber stamp on stuff that's in there, it's Jericho. It's not Tony Khan. Tony Khan, no. You look at what happens in AEW. Most of the stuff, a lot of the stuff that happens in there's no way he's rubber stamping that.
I think it smacks of a guy rubber stamping it because he doesn't really know what's what. And that's, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead, throw yourself, you know. Whereas I think if...
You don't need to have any knowledge to tell a 60-odd-year-old man not to be jumping off a ladder down onto the floor.
Well, I think if you're a power hungry guy and you're a money hungry guy like a Can, you know, and you're like, you know what sells? Let's get Sting on a ladder. You know, like I think somebody's got to go. This is the concussion thing with a footballer. Somebody has to be able to tell the footballer you can't go back on the pitch because it's bad for you and you can damage yourself. Somebody's got to be able to pull the trigger with Sting and go, listen, this does not happen because you are getting to an age where this is going to affect you in the future. And we're not having that. Because don't forget, if stuff goes down now, isn't it something that later on, you know, you can get the thing where Sting comes back and wants to sue, you know, AEW and says he was neglected because he was let do these things and blah, blah, blah. We've seen this before 100 times, right?
Well, I think the contracts now are way more tighter than they used to be.
Yeah, but even like, it's not necessarily just from that point of view. You know, you hear all the time guys were in the army. Well, they weren't given the type of protection for their ears. They're all suing because they're all deaf now. Well, no, they're not all deaf. But this is the way. Do you know what I mean? So, like, if somebody thinks there's a way of getting away around a contract where there's a way of making a few dollars, like a hungry little lawyer, like we know they are, right? They'll speak into things here and they'll go, how's the finances? Ah, they're okay. Let's make 10 million here. How are we going to make 10 million? Well, let's say that you were told A, B, C, and D, and we know it can be a bunch of BS. And all of a sudden, AEW goes, "This is bad for business. Let's just settle this on this court, on the step to the court."
But that's
before we go to.
But hence, what you're saying there is the reason why I'm saying that this is not being rubber stamped by this guy.
I don't know. I don't have that much faith in Can.
Yeah, I think it's other people rubber stamping this, and he's surrounding themselves with those people. I think being honest, I think if this is in WWE, Vince is looking at that and going, no. Triple H is looking at that and going, no, it's not happening.
Oh, and that's it in the story. Yeah, 100%.
But if you've got Triple H or Vince McMahon saying to you, that's very different if you're Sting and you've Tony Khan saying that to you.
Well, I don't know. I think ultimately the book stops at Tony Khan because Tony either says whether it goes down or it doesn't go down. Because if Tony says it doesn't go down, then it doesn't go down. End of story.
I just wonder with the amount of stuff he's dealing with, how preoccupied he gets into the detail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think he turns around and he goes, right, it's Sting versus whoever. Right, boys, you go put your stuff together. I'm not too sure whether he's going into that detail that say a Vince goes in or a Triple H goes in.
Like if I'm a guy putting a product out, I've got to at least know how this is going to go down. He's got to know, oh, well, Sting's going to take this massive bump, you know, off the ladder and he's going to chin himself and like, what? You're going to do what? What, Sting, why would you do that? Like, you know, so there's got to be something. The other thing you just touched on there, and it's something I'm going to touch on very, very quickly is, look, Acers, it's like you're reading my mind. All out has Jericho Sting retirement match. Possibly. Jericho needs to start wrestling with a t-shirt on because he looks fucking terrible. Looks absolutely terrible. Oh my God, man.
He's enjoying the fruits of his labour.
He looks fucking terrible. My God.
I seen he was getting a hard time the other day on Twitter from a few fans about it. And he turned around and he swerved on them. He turned around and says, "Thank you very much. I'm glad I can take all your comments on board. Thank you so much." And all.
He looks dreadful.
He probably come out looking even worse.
I don't see Jericho's last match being in AEW. I 110% think he goes to WWE to retire. And I think he does it at a WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, look, you'd have to come back, probably do it at a kind of start at the Rumble and work it up, and you'll have your Hall of Fame and your book and your documentary and pad out the network with all your content and all the usual stuff that happens now. But yeah, there's no doubt
going back to meet Vince at the office and Triple H after the words and you know the whole. Yeah.
So here's a question for you. Yeah, and hands him the little sort of storybook with the little train that wasn't and was and all this kind of thing. Here's one for you. Is CM Punk the same?
Absolutely.
So he's back to WWE as well to finish up Hall of Fame, WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. So we still have a lot of good things ahead then. So.
But I do think Punk goes back with more in the tank than Jericho does. I think Jericho goes back and it's short, sweet, and to the point.
Oh, Punk could be a run.
Punk could be, I'm coming back. I'm going to either get myself in the best shape I've ever been in, or I'm going to do something that will give you 18 months to 2 years of a run. I think he gets more of a hit than Jericho. I think Jericho is, it'll be done a certain way. And like, Jericho absolutely deserves to finish like that,
Punk versus Ryback. Did you see that stuff with Ryback going on with the Stalker?
Ryback's just an anomaly, isn't he?
Did you see the stuff with the FBI?
No, I didn't. No.
This Stalker's been coming onto his live streams and talking about wanting to kill him and kill his mother and everything. And they've had to try and shut him down and all this kind of stuff. Now they've had to try and find out who he is. The FBI and all are involved, and apparently they're watching this guy in case he makes a move. Apparently Ryback is proper crapping himself about this situation. It's fairly escalated now,
This sounds like it's kayfabe, and it's something coming from Vinnie Mac's head.
I don't think it is.
Oh, no, I'm not saying this. But I'm saying this sounds like something that has come from Vinnie Mac's, evil genius mind. And all of a sudden, Ryback's in the arena. And who's the other lad that shows up? Dexter Loomis, that kind of thing. It's that sort of from underneath the ring.
Brian Pillman kind of thing.
I've arrived.
Brian Pillman, loose cannon kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take some birthdays then to finish out the show. Barry Windham celebrates his birthday this week. 1960 he was born. Adam Cole, Mr. Undisputed Era, will always be Undisputed Era to us, I presume. 1989. One that you could have pulled out another figure on, Jerry Saggs, 1964.
Are they in the? They're gone upstairs.
Yeah, in the dungarees, of course. Hillbilly Jim, 1952. Mark Mero, 1960. One that I know you have multiple figures on, 1959. Kevin Nash, Big Daddy. He celebrates his birthday
Got
this
a couple
week.
of Kevin Nash, all right, yeah. A couple of nice absolutely. Kevin Nash.
Pops the whole lot.
Do you know what I must do? When I get a chance is I must try and push the newer stuff to the side and maybe do an update on our collector's corner of what's come in.
That'd be good.
And I could easily do a third episode at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could probably do a third episode on what's coming this fucking week, but let's not talk about that.
Say nothing. 1975, speaking of Money in the Bank, Shelton Benjamin celebrates his birthday this week, who I always feel is going to miss our Money in the Bank somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we rendered out with 1969, a man from WCW, PN News, who I got to see wrestle on these shores, I think with AWR or something like that.
Very good.
It was great to see him. Hang on a minute. We got let's say Aces Goldbridge going mad. That's Sir Jim Story saying that United takeover isn't finished yet. Absolutely. Don't you be firing Darren up as well if that's the case as well. It's my mum's birthday tomorrow, Catherine. Big shout out to Catherine, Eno's mum. Happy birthday. She's a huge wrestling fan, Darren. She loved World of Sport and she loved the NWA. Yeah, she was on the WhatsApp talking to me on video about the old times in the NWA and stuff like that. She didn't realise I was of the vintage of my own age to remember the NWA and stuff like that.
Pretty good.
Maybe I had a shave that week or something. Maybe that's what it was.
Happy birthday to Ian's man.
Yeah. Big happy birthday to Catherine.
Yeah,
so if she's
absolutely.
listening on the big screen or whatever, or Ian, if you want to play it back to her on the replay, happy birthday, Miss Hodgins. Have a great day. Ian, I hope you're going to spoil her. That's it for this week. That's everything I have. A few little technical issues there with broadband and Wi-Fi and all the rest of it in StreamYard, but we're
don't think of any more wrestlers I can show, can we? No,
for a change.
So.
nothing within arm's length.
Do you know what? I do. Two guys, did we mention these two guys tonight? I think we mentioned them at one stage or another. Two guys that might be heading to a premises near you soon. If anybody is looking for them, we have one, Brock Lesnar, Ultimate Edition.
Very nice.
With the two belts and the two sets of hands and the heads. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely.
And I got one more for you. This is from the same series as Brock. This is a particular nice one.
Oh yeah, that's lovely.
Warrior with the hands and the You've got the painted face and then the unpainted face, and then you've got the jacket from WrestleMania 7 with himself and Macho Man emblazoned onto the jacket. That's
Quality.
awesome, isn't it?
Quality. Unpainted face always seems very weird, doesn't it?
It looks deadly now, I have to be honest with you. It looks
Yeah.
really, really well. There's some spares I have. I have spares. This isn't good, Niall. This is not good.
It's always the way, isn't it? We live in a world of buy one, don't get one free.
Oh, God.
Sean is in. How you doing, Sean? Hope you're good. Just finishing up here.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks for joining us and jumping on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's been a good show apart from that, but we'll get back apart from the few technical faults that happened in the middle of it kind of thing. But
the technical faults weren't me. No, do you know what I want you to do? I want you to go back and watch me singing later on.
You were singing on it now, were you?
I started singing and everything.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to clip it as a short.
Don't do that.
I'm going to do that now.
Don't do that.
That'll teach you a lesson. Acers.
Oh, God, don't do
Wrestling
that.
Shop on London last week had insane figures. Yeah, it did. Yeah, they had the legends. D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown was doing autograph signing at it. Actually, he was signing his figure, which would have been kind of cool. Obviously, must have been a tough weekend for him as well, hearing of Droz passing away as well. Obviously, with the connection there and stuff like that. I know bridges were mended and friendships were formed and all that kind of stuff, but still, I'm sure he carried that news with a heavy heart.
You carry a lot of weight on your shoulders when you do something like that to a person, you know, especially when it's, you know, it's an accidental thing. It's not, you know, nobody goes in to try and hurt people. Very, very difficult to deal with. Something that happens in the business, but unfortunately, it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially when, you know, when the passing then happens and then you reflect back on it and stuff like that, and you probably live through those times again and stuff like that. So obviously RIP Droz and all that kind of stuff. Kenny's on. Missed the show, but sure, it was awesome as always. Cheers, Kenny. Talking to Kenny today. I shipped out Kenny's shirt. Kenny's shirt went out today. Bought a classic Hulk Hogan shirt off me there.
Nice, Kenny.
Went out. Kenny, I'm not going to show you a picture either, but there's a nice little surprise on the envelope for you. You can share it on your Instagram when you get it, but it's just me having a little bit of fun because that's what I do. So I'll keep you can think about it and see what happens. Right, folks, until next time, if you could subscribe to the channel, we're trying to hit 1,000 before the season starts. So we're going to keep on pumping out the shorts. We're going to keep on pumping out the morning shows. Wrestling, football, everything you want is on this channel. It's all there. Keep it going. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, and of course, most important, drop a like on the video as well. And we will talk to you again real soon. Cheers, bro.
Thanks, pal.